This video is, what if Robin didn't survive Ohara? I wonder what would have happened. Let's find out.
What happens to the world and story of One Piece if
Have
Nico
I caught
Robin
up?
didn't
I've
survive?
caught up on the anime. I'm not caught up on the manga, though. Not caught up on the manga. I am not a manga reader.
The Ohara incident. There's no archaeologist on the Straw Hat crew, the world government feels more secure in hiding the true history, and, most importantly, there's
Bro, I'm not gonna lie, they are not getting very far, bro. They can't read Poneglyphs, they can't find the One Piece show ends. Genuinely.
no one left alive who can read the Poneglyphs. Or is there? There are two distinct sections of One Piece where Robin's relevance to the story is dramatically different, before and after Zou. As interesting as the Poneglyphs have been for the audience since their introduction, Zou sets the road poneglyph.
Chet, am I tripping? Robin is the only person alive that can read and decipher Poneglyphs, right? Or is there multiple people who can do it? Is it only Robin? No. Who else can? Momonosuke? Oh, he can as well? Oh, so okay. Momo can't read them. There's probably someone else. Because I'm thinking, how are the other people gonna do it if they can't read them? How are they gonna find them? Oh wait, there's a lot of people? Oh, okay.
Up as vital for the endgame of the series.
Roger's crew? I mean, like, oh yeah, I guess. The living ones, maybe they can.
On paper, Robin's position on the crew is the least necessary. It's not like Luffy ever set out to sea with the desire for a historian. I'm not even sure he could say the word archaeologist. But once the Straw Hats arrive at Zou, Robin becomes arguably the most important person on the crew.
I need to say this publicly, by the way. Love Robin. Robin's the GOAT. Nico Robin is genuinely one of my favorite Straw Hats. Robin is genuinely she's so cool, bro. Robin is actually such a cool Straw Hat. Deadass.
But once the Straw Hats arrive at Zou, Robin becomes arguably the most important person on the crew and on the sea. Before we discuss how the story would shake out after this point, first, we need to go back and see if the Straw Hats would even make it there without the Demon Child on their crew. In a version of reality where Crocodile and Robin never teamed up, you'd have to imagine he'd still go through with his scheme to take over Alabasta.
Bro, this is also one of the problems that it's been so long since I've watched One Piece that this guy Loki, I'm just taking his word for it. I'm just taking his word for it, bro.
And to worry about translating the Poneglyphs after he took possession of the kingdom. The reason we first met Robin off the shores of Whiskey Peak was because she was doing some behind-the-scenes scheming and had actually laid a lot of groundwork for how this arc unfolds. It's because she allowed Vivi and Igaram to follow her that they even learned Mr. Zero's true identity, which is why Vivi is dying to get back home, and her revealing the truth to the Straw Hats is why they're being hunted by Baroque works to begin with. The basic fact that Vivi doesn't know Mr. Zero is Crocodile changes the entire story. But I think it's fair to assume Vivi could have still figured out Crocodile's identity either another way or by following the replacement Miss All Sunday, who...
That was her name, Miss All Sunday? Was that Robin's code name?
...by this motley crew would likely not be as hyper-intelligent as Robin. If we continue with this generous reinterpretation of events, not much changes in the Alabasta arc until Luffy is stabbed by Crocodile.
Shout out to One Piece, Oda, my GOAT, love One Piece. Luffy, if we're being real, dies here. Luffy just dies here, deadass. The story ends here. There is no version of shit where, bro, plot armor saved this man and I'm not hearing it. Bro. There's no way. He should have died there and then. But I love Luffy, so I'm glad he lived.
Robin pulls him out of the sand, but given Pell is fast behind her, it's reasonable to assume he could have rescued Luffy as well. And that's really it, as far as Robin being replaced by another Miss All Sunday. Maybe that new lady joins the fight somehow, but the general structure
and... like, holy shit. I really wish One Piece that had more of a threat of death. I feel like I would be way more immersed in the fights if stuff like that could happen. Like, they fight an enemy that's way out of their league and actually just die. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, You know what I'm saying? Like they actually could die. There is zero chance in my mind where anybody, bro. In the last video I posted, the Usopp one, someone in the comments was like, "Oh, Nami would have died fighting the spiky lady," but no, people don't die in One Piece. People they don't, bro. People don't die. Well, you know, Wano, a couple, you know what I'm saying. The Straw Hats don't.
Outcome could remain practically the same. Surprisingly, I don't think it's that cut and dry with Skypiea. There are a couple of important moves Robin makes, like pointing the crew toward Mont Blanc Cricket and choking the thick monk, not a euphemism, but those could have been resolved in other ways. Her major contribution is setting up the entire endgame of the arc, although she isn't directly—
You brought the donut? What, Ace? I mean, Ace is the exception. Ace and Whitebeard, they die. They do die.
Involved
to be
in
fair.
the climactic fight. It's because of her translating the Shandorian text that Eneru becomes obsessed with acquiring the Golden Bell before destroying Skypiea. You might be thinking, does the bell really matter that much? Yes! The ending of Skypiea is one of, if not the only times in the story where the antagonist gets away because kicking his ass isn't Luffy's goal. He wants to ring that bell to let Cricket know Noland wasn't a liar. The only reason Eneru is in the one spot in the sky that's accessible to Luffy is because he wants the bell. So, by removing Robin's conversation with Eneru, the outcome of the arc is called into question. That's why I love doing these little what-if scenarios.
These are good
Removing
hypotheticals.
key features reveals fun quirks of the story that I never would have thought of on my own. The video could end right here, and I think there's a fair point to make that without Robin, the Odyssey is cut short in the sky. But, for the sake of argument and teasing out this thought experiment a little longer, I think a case could be made—
So realistically, for being realistic, they get to Skypiea and no further. They get to Skypiea and just deadass just no further, realistically. But he's gonna give a generous interpretation of how it would continue.
that events could have unfolded in a similar way. Eneru is still gonna kill everybody, and Luffy would still try to stop him. Eneru could spot the bell while traveling into the sky and decide to grab it. While indulging in his hubris, Luffy could stop him and ring the bell anyway. There wouldn't be the build-up that made the climax so satisfying, and like all of One Piece, the arc would have been worse off without Robin, but I think a similar outcome is within the—
Hey, he didn't say that about Usopp, though. He didn't say that about Usopp. With Usopp not there, nothing changes. With Robin not there, GG's.
Of
GG's.
the reasonable. Let's move on in the timeline where everyone doesn't die from being barbecued by lightning or pancaked by an incredible fall. Nothing about the Davy Back fight would be changed. It's Aokiji's encounter with the Straw Hats that vanishes. It's safe to assume he was on Long Ring, Long Land for her. So the Straw Hats wouldn't run into Aokiji at this point, which could actually have some ripple effects with second and third gear, since this major ass-kicking inspired Luffy, but generally, they'd simply continue on to Water 7, where things would be different, although
Yeah,
not as much
what is Water 7? Like, what do they do in Water 7 without Robin there? They don't necessarily need to publicly declare war on the world government, because they don't have anybody to save.
as you might think. When I think of
Because, was it CP0 or CP9? They came for Robin, specifically.
the Water 7 saga, the first thing that pops into my mind is Robin. But there is a ton going on, and most of it doesn't actually rely on her presence. Let me explain. Robin's
do.
relevance to the plot doesn't pop up until well into the arc. Everything with Usopp's fight, the news about Mary, and the conflict with the Frankie family is completely divorced from her existence. It's
Right.
only when Iceberg being shot hits the papers that the Straw Hats get involved in her storyline. CP9 wanted to pin the attempted assassination on them to set the stage for stealing the blueprints for Pluton. Take out Robin, and CP9 could still do something similar. Dress a certain way, or leave behind some kind of clue that ties the assassination attempt to the Straw Hats.
Oh, I completely forgot about that. They wanted to pin it on the Straw Hats?
Robin wasn't their goal. She was a
Oh.
fugitive they happened upon and used for their own ends. That's why CP9 immediately goes
Oh.
to take Frankie back to Ennie's lobby.
I completely forgot about that. I thought the whole point was they were seeking Robin. So they wanted to pin the shooting of Iceberg on the Straw Hats, and they just so happened to find Robin rolling with the Straw Hats. Forgot about that.
In fact, since Sanji wouldn't be acting all mysterious and cool in his search for Robin, he'd never catch the sea train in time, which means Usopp would take Robin's position as CP9's second prisoner on the Judicial Island. So all of Enies Lobby could play out similar enough, with the Straw Hats going to rescue Frankie and Usopp. If Iceberg asked Luffy to help Frankie, I think he'd honor that request, and the same alliance would be formed. Unfortunately...
Yeah, Soga King won't be able to shoot down the flag.
Usopp being captured means he'd never be able to call his friend, the hero from Sniper Island, Soga King, for help. But his capture seals the deal that the Straw Hats would still get involved.
Okay.
Now, does this sound way worse than the true Water 7 saga we got?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think it would ruin Usopp's character. But structurally, I don't think removing Robin from this saga changes much about how things proceed.
Really?
Which is kind of shocking. Thriller Bark,
very
the
shocking.
entire Summit War and Fishman Island sagas, and Punk Hazard are much the same. Robin does have a couple of combat feats, which would make her absence somewhat impactful, but not critical to how the broad strokes of the story
Jacob,
play
thank you
out.
for the follow.
The most story impact Robin has through these arcs is at the very end of Fishman Island, while discussing Shirahoshi.
Bro, I'm genuinely shocked that they're making it this far without Robin. Jacob, thank you again for the follow. I'm genuinely shocked they're making it this far, no Robin.
An ancient weapon with King...
Yeah, true. Keep in mind they really did die in Skypiea. True. Good point. Good point. Good point.
Neptune, which Caribou overhears. At the time of writing this, it's unclear what Caribou will do with this information.
This got...
But without Robin's presence, the possibility for...
I'm not caught up on the manga. This dude low-key might be the Black Zetsu of One Piece. This dude low-key might be the Black Zetsu. This fodder-ass character might have some massive effect on the whole story, bro. Let me not say too much, man.
For him to do anything doesn't even exist. And that takes us to Dressrosa, the final arc before Zoe, and one of the most reliant on Robin's presence. There's a ton that Robin is heavily involved with. The initial meeting with the Tontada, her partnership with Usopp during Operation SOP, her connection with the revolutionaries, and her fight against the...
He was on the ship and Luffy said he's drink. He's just been there whole time and I completely forgot. He's been there whole time, bro. The whole time.
The Don Quixote family and protection of Rebecca, so Kiros can focus on taking down Diamante. And I think that's the most impactful role that she plays.
He knows everything.
I don't know if Kiros and Rebecca would have gotten out of things unscathed without Robin around. But at the same time, I don't think that has enough of an impact on the larger story to really change much. It's hard to say definitively that Robin's absence would have resulted in Luffy...
Wait, Luffy, when you talk about Luffy Jim, you talking about before Wano, right? When they all like shared the drink.
Not defeating Doflamingo, and at the end of the day, that's what success in this arc called for. With that said, I think it's reasonable that the Straw Hats do
at the
make
end of Wano? Oh yeah, he's in this barrel. He's in this barrel right here. Oh, he doesn't say. Oh, that's why I don't remember. Okay. The crew knows what we don't.
Huh?
Maybe it's possible once I become king of the pirates. So being the king of the pirates is a step towards his goal. We don't even know what. Oh, and yeah, Caribou he's in the barrel. Shanks cried because it's the same thing that Roger said. Ah, that makes so much sense. So I'm guessing Karibo wants to say something to the... I'm guessing that's the thing he wants to say.
To Zoe without Robin, but everything changes from here. In this Robinless reality, the most
And we all agree that One Piece is trash. Yeah, man, we can all agree. I agree with you.
That the Straw Hats would have had with the Poneglyphs would have been at Alabasta, and it's unclear that they'd ever even learn that part of Crocodile's plan. Actually, I'd be surprised if in the real story, half of the Straw Hats even know about that now.
Stop being consistent,
so,
give me a day.
when the crew gets the scoop about the road Poneglyphs, I'm sure they'd be hella confused. But it wouldn't be an incomprehensible concept. It's really just a treasure hunt to put a map together for the final island. Once that's explained, the Straw Hats would understand the need for all 4 road Poneglyphs. That's not the problem. The problem, and it's a big one, is that no one in the entire world can read them. In the actual...
So I was right. Nobody can read them except for Robin. That's why I'm thinking, how are the other pirates looking for the One Piece gonna find it, bro? How? Nobody in the... That's why they got rid of all the people on Ohara, right? Well, they were trying to find what's happened in the ancient history or whatever, but Vegapunk can read them? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But at this point, Vegapunk is working for the government. Momonosuke's granddad is right there. But isn't Wano completely cut off from the rest of the world? Like, they're not under the world government? I mean, I guess pirates can still go there. But is Momonosuke's granddad being able to read Poneglyphs? That's public knowledge. All pirates just know that. They know they have to go to Wano. Or if you pull up to Wano coincidentally, you just get lucky to find somebody who can read those.
Story, it's easy for the
because if there's someone who can read Poneglyphs, surely the world government is smoking them out immediately. That can't be like public knowledge that everybody has.
That's to just say, we'll make copies of the Poneglyphs for Robin to translate. But what the hell do they do without her? Half the reason Big Mom and Kaido are just sitting on their asses is because they have no way to find Laugh-Tale. Would the Straw Hats end up in the same position, just collecting illegible texts and waiting for a miracle? The way I see it,
any pirate trying to close about the closing can? Apparently not. Kaido and Big Mom are just... We got all these Poneglyphs. No way to decipher them. Surely Kaido and Big Mom would head straight... Wait, isn't that why they were in Wano? Am I stupid? Wait, isn't that... Why did Kaido go to Wano again? Was it to get those translated? No. What's up, nerd? How you doing, bro? How you doing, bro? No, it can't be, because why would he... They didn't know that his grandma was alive.
There are some reasonable paths the crew could go down if they're given some heavy exposition, but keep in mind, they still have to deal with Sanji's Whole Cake Island situation and the alliance against Kaido. Now, the crew could just say, fuck it, we have too much going on, we'll deal with this later, but I think that's a bit too foolish even for Luffy, especially considering Law would be hearing this information too. So, let's assume the crew asks for as much info as possible. During Zoe, the crew is told that Momo's ancestors could read the Poneglyphs, although the chain was broken with Odin. So, with this information and a couple of options, what's the game plan? For Luffy, getting Sanji back is still the priority. After all, he can't...
Kaido wanted to capture Robin too, that's what Black Mirror's goal was? Oh, okay. But then in this example, there is no Robin to capture. Robin doesn't exist.
Can't be king of the pirates without him. Since the Straw Hats' first and only solid lead...
Finished all of One Piece right now in its peak. Oh wait, you're fully caught up, nerd? Like fully?
From Momo, I think they'd put their faith in finding someone from Wano to help them.
How you doing, brother?
After they defeat Kaido. So, the goals would still remain the same as in the original story, but with an addendum. Save Sanji, reunite at Wano, defeat Kaido,
good night, Raccoon Man,
then find a rock reader. Can they pull it all off without Robin, or will their plan backfire? Luckily enough for me, Robin isn't involved.
Brooks' coldest moment. Brooks' coldest moment, bro. This was Brooks' coldest moment, bro, and it's not even close. I loved this, bro.
In Whole Cake Island at all, which makes my job a lot easier. Nothing about Brook making a copy of Big Mom's road poneglyph would need to change, but I think now is as good a time as any to point out that the road
Brook got bitched here. I mean, going one-on-one with an Emperor of the Sea and even living to tell this tale. You get that. You got that. You got that.
poneglyphs aren't the only ones that will matter in the end game. Throughout the story, Robin was collecting.
He didn't land a single hit and became a pet. Listen, bro, the details of the fight aren't relevant. The fact is, he went in with aura. He left with aura. All right. See episode 155 so good. I cried. Wait, are they? Is One Piece on hiatus right now? Or no? Is One Piece on hiatus right now, or are they still dropping episodes? It is until April 5th. Oh my god, bruh. And then it's seasonal. Bro.
Translations from the other kinds of poneglyphs with the goal of uncovering the true history. That has yet to come into play, but needless to say, without Robin's discoveries throughout this journey, the Straw Hats are likely to be completely owned at some point down the line. Next up,
Am I caught up? I am
Wano.
caught up. I am.
Now, Robin does get some
Not the
information
manga, though.
during her undercover time with Orochi, and she even lays the absolute
Robin's coldest moment too. Demon Robin. Locked in.
smackdown on Black Maria, but she's also targeted by Black Maria and CP0 because of her knowledge. None of that motivation for the antagonists would have existed during the raid, so it's hard to say for certain that the raid would have failed without Robin present. What is clear, though, is that Robin's vital position is entirely upended by the end of this arc. Leave now if you don't want any spoilers for what happens after the raid.
I mean, this is Wano, bro. We're past that. We're past that.
The anime isn't up to that
just
point
followed
yet
you.
at the time this video comes out.
I literally
So,
just followed
you
you.
have been warned. Robin
Brown-eyed Evelyn, thank you for the follow.
is no longer the sole interpreter of the poneglyphs. There's also Kazuki Sukiyaki. It isn't outright stated that he can read the poneglyphs, but, as I said, in Zou, it was stated that this was a tradition passed down in the Kazuki line.
Why am I British? Bad spawn, bro. It happens. It happens. I jumped out the battle bus a bit late. Landed here. It is what it is.
And we know for a fact Odin could read them.
So he must have learned
he
them
was
from-
likely taught by his father. Although in the events of the real story, Sukiyaki only reveals himself to Robin, I think it's highly likely he would have revealed himself to another member of the crew, given everything they
We still
just
love you.
did
Thanks,
for
guys.
his kingdom. Especially since he'd know he was one of, if not the only person in the world, capable of reading the poneglyphs that the Straw Hats are desperate to have translated. With copies of the Zou, Whole Cake Island, and Wano poneglyphs, the crew would actually be in the exact same position leaving Wano as they were in the true story.
Really?
Just missing one last road poneglyph to translate. Now, we enter sheer speculation mode. What direction does the story go in now that the Straw Hats know of another poneglyph translator and there's just one left for them to track down? Welp, obviously, I have no idea what's going to happen. I have a hunch the road poneglyph is on Elbaf. That just seems almost a bit too obvious of a vanilla prediction. But how many more islands are we really gonna visit
Probably.
before Laugh Tale? Besides the point. Straight up, I think Luffy asked Sukiyaki to join his crew. They do have a bit of a connection, and now that Wano is secured, he may feel a responsibility to set out to the sea, to take the journey that changed his son's life, and to see where the mystery of the poneglyphs leads. That could actually be another really interesting mirror of Roger and Luffy's voyages. Anyway, from here on out, the Straw Hats would at least have a translator with them at all times, who could also work as the resident weaponsmith. He'd be able to translate the final road poneglyph, but of course, he wouldn't have the library of knowledge that Robin had collected, both from her days at Ohara and her travels translating the other poneglyphs. Ultimately, he couldn't really
Mind you, chat, they really died in Skypiea. Mind you.
serve as a full-on replacement for Robin, But in the immediate term, he'd likely be able to get the crew to laugh tail. I mean, there's also the possibility that he refuses to leave Wano. Either way, the Straw Hats would still have a secret ace up their sleeve.
Yeah, they could go find the last Poneglyph, copy it, and then go back to Wano. They could do that. They could do that. So this dude low-key, like, you know, if we go with a more generous interpretation, like we do with the Usopp vid, what do you call it? This dude kind of just shits on Robin's whole existence. They kind of don't really need Robin as soon as this guy appears, which is kind of crazy.
With a copy of the Final Road Poneglyph. Hell, if Sukiyaki refused to leave, Yamato staying behind to defend Wano would make even more sense and wouldn't feel as narratively jarring. A win-win! I guess the conclusion I've come to is that despite how truly
I have no idea why Yamato didn't join the Straw Hats, bro. I feel like that would have made sense in my head.
I think Robin is, and let me emphasize that she's by far my favorite crew member, the story of One Piece wouldn't entirely fall in on itself without her. I couldn't say that until Wano resolved and Sukiyaki was revealed, but his existence actually gives the story an out in case anything happens to Robin.
Robin hit. Never mind, let me know, bro. Robin's cool, bro. What does Frankie and the Fishman do? What? Frankie and the Fishman?
Which actually worries me.
Oh, Frankie and you talk about Jinbei? Jinbei is he sails the ship. He kind of like Luffy's mentor, kind of like he like big bro. And then Frankie fixes the ship. He's the one who upgrades the Sunny and fixes it and you know what I'm saying? And keeps the Mary from sinking. Make sure they have a ship to sail on.
Do this. Anyway, I guess Robin would be happy that her existence isn't the only thing giving this world hope that one day it might be free. Although, her sticking around certainly makes that far more likely, and the story
Why did they make Robin white? Why did they do that? You guys remember she was like brown skin, light skin in Alabasta, and then time skip, she's just white? I don't know. I don't know why they did that.
Or enjoyable. With my spiel done, what do you think? Do you think it's
Michael
reasonable to
Jackson.
say that the Straw Hats could make it through their entire journey without Robin? There are definitely some touchy spots throughout. Is there something else glaringly obvious that I missed?
I wonder.
That
I'll look
you
you
need
in
to
the
shout at me
comments.
about? Please let me know that and what you thought of this what if down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and until the next time, I'll shut up.
Good vid. Good vid. I like that. Thumbs up. I watched the episodes and the Straw would not reach Skype without Robin. Nami thought the log post was broken and Robin had to convince everybody that the log post does not lie. It was Robin who deduced the ship was about 200 years old and that it indeed was roaming in the sky for roughly 200 years, prompting Luffy to believe Skype exists when Nami, the literal person who navigates them, said it was a fake map. Damn. Damn. I feel like the crew wouldn't have known the earlier Poneglyphs were even of any importance at all if Robin didn't say, hey, Roger left a message, or there's a mystery here. The shots would literally not be as famous as they were without us. Going to say Robin in part is what made Luffy step as a captain and invent second gear. If not for that, for what? The Straw Hats could very well have died much sooner in their journey. Plus, there's no making it to Laugh Tale without her. Robin really the glue that holds the Straw Hats together. What's up, ladies, man? That was a really, really good vid. That was a really, really good video.